our outstanding field for today's Professional Bowlers Tour telecast. We've traveled to the east coast of Florida, the Fort Lauderdale area, often called the Venice of America because of its many waterways and miles of sandy beaches. Hello again, I'm Chris Schenkel. It's a beautiful sunshiny day. As we travel across America, we discover that bowling is a grassroots sport, crossing all lines of age, sex, race, education, and profession. There are many types of bowling establishments in America, but here in Sunrise, Florida, none more beautiful, more modern, more attractive than these Don Carter lanes. Let's go inside and hear from my colleague, Nelson Burton Jr.
Thank you, Chris. You're right. This is a beautiful setting. 64 lanes, ultra-modern. They're only 6 months old. It's a great setting for the $160,000 1990 Budweiser Classic. The scores have been good. The field is great. We have 3 lefties and 2 righties. In fact, our tournament leader is averaging better than 230. And he's with me in the announce booth right now, Brian Voss, with his fiancée, Andrea Goff. And Brian, this has been a very, very special week for you so far.
Well, it has been. I'm getting married tomorrow. I got all the family here on both sides, and they've just loved every minute of it, and we sure have too.
Andrea, I know that you've seen Brian bowl before, but this is the championship round. Is there any advice you can give him in the number 1 position?
Well, I'll leave the bowling to Brian, and I'll give him all the moral support.
You know how much money he can win today?
Yes.
You'll make a great wife. Brian, you know that playing the lanes is so important, so let's take a look at how to play the championship lanes today. First place, there is oil on the lanes down to about 41 feet, and it's heavy in the center of the lane. And as you can see, the white area and the pine area, the difference is the maple and the pine. The pine is the darker part of the lane, and it starts right here at about 20 feet. Now, the line that the players are playing is right between the second and third arrows for the righties, and the lefties are playing more of a straight shot right down the second arrow into the 1-2 pocket. Chris, we've had great scores, and there's a tremendous prize fund.
And the first prize is $31,000, 16 for second, 85, 7, and 6. Very comfortable inside, a capacity standing room only crowd of this beautiful facility. Sunshiny outside indeed. And here we look at Tony Marrese, born in Fond du Lac, Wisconsin, bowling out of Hilton Head, South Carolina. Comes from a family of cheese makers. The Marrese Cheese Company in Fond du Lac, started by his grandfather. All right. El Perfecto, right here in the very first shot, Nelson. His opponent is Rick Steelsmith, the PBA Rookie of the Year.
Chris, I saw Steelsmith 2 years ago in college, then he came out in 1989, and he is by far the best player ever to come out of the college ranks. Stardom is in his way.
And as an amateur, he practically won everything. He started out at Vincennes University, a junior college, then on to Wichita State.
Discipline, 5-step delivery. Look at the high backswing, the locked elbow, the good wrist position. Now watch him tuck that swing in next to the left leg. Tremendous wrist action and finish. By far the most polished player that came out of the college ranks, and it proves by his amateur record, as you said, Chris. He won just about everything, both internationally and in the college ranks in the United States.
And represented his country internationally, Team USA. Leaving the 2-pin on the left lane, 5'7", 140 pounds.
Steelsmith has that locked arm release, and I think that that's what has made him so good. He doesn't have a lot of movement throughout his swing, and he gets a lot of power. Now, he's had a little bit of difficulty with some shoulder problems, and he seems to have that somewhat under control, but he's had to go to a lighter bowling ball, 15 pounds.
So with the surgery that he has had, he had to lay out for a while, give him an opportunity to finish his business administration degree at Wichita State.
Just nips the 2-pin, but if a bowling ball hits the pin, it'll go down. All you have to do is touch him.
Oh, the man that was an alternate for the final field of 24. Got a little lucky with some unfortunate happenings to the people ahead of him to make it into and get here.
The arm swing of Tony Marrese. He starts it inside. It bounces out just a little bit. He's playing right about the second arrow. You can see his ball about ready to pass over that area. And his arm swing is much better than it used to be. He used to get to the top of the swing, then bounce to the left and pull the ball across his body. And he's greatly improved that swing.
It's the third telecast of Tony's career. Last year he was fourth at Fairlanes and second in Tucson. So he's been knocking on the door. Last year he earned $30,580. Interesting guy. Loves all the martial arts, battling for his black belt. Opening with strikes, fair strike in our very first game here in the Budweiser Classic.
From the low angle, you see the angle of Marrese's ball. Enters the 1-2 pocket. The 4-pin slaps out the 7. And he has 40 through the second. Now, Steelsmith up, third frame.
All but the 10-pin on the right lane for Steelsmith. Pinfall you hear is Rich Wolfe, who will be meeting the winner of our very first game here in Sunrise, Florida. Continues to practice off to our right. All clean through 3 frames for each professional. Steelsmith is 25, Marrese is 29. All gaining that maturity to succeed out here on the tour.
The average age of the top 24 this week, Chris, just 27 years of age, all the top 24. Steelsmith with a lot of training, fourth frame.
And crossing over, fortunately leaving the 3, 6, 9, 10.
One of the 2 toughest spares, I believe, for professionals to make. You have to get the ball between the 3 and 6 pins, and make sure that the ball carries out the 9 back here, and yet the pins deflect and carry out the 10. Rick will probably try shooting it down the right side and breaking the ball sharply off the gutter area, and hopefully carries the back pin. Needs this to keep the lead.
Nearing the halfway point now of our very first game in this year's Budweiser Classic. We'll return with more. Back again at the Don Carter All-Star Lanes in Sunrise, Florida in the Fort Lauderdale area. We're live, moving now to the 4th frame of our first match. Tony Marrese, leading by 5, has a strike up. He is battling Rick Steelsmith. He has left the 3-5.
When you look at Tony's arm swing, and the reason you cannot have an inside-out swing is that you cannot play the inside line. I see him playing pretty much inside towards the center of the lane and sending the ball to the left. Doesn't quite come up, gets the 3-5. But if you have a bounce in your swing out, whether it's a right-hander or left-hander, you can only play the extreme outside lines and pull the ball up to the pocket. You can never give it room with leverage to accommodate a big hook.
One of the 3 left-handers that you'll see perform here today, and if we have the opportunity, our Nelson Burton tip of the week will be about left-handers.
With the help of Triple Crown winner Johnny Petraglia.
Mm-hmm. So now the 5th frame for Marrese. Rather deliberate, and we do have the time clock on the bowlers. The 25-second rule is in effect. And remember last week, I think we had 15 splits. Here's our first of the afternoon, Bo.
the 4-6-10. Basically an impossible split to make, and what Tony will try to do is get the ball over in the 6-10 area and hopefully either slide the 6 into the 4 or bounce it out into the 4. Very difficult to make. His best percentage is just try to knock down 2 pins, forget the 5th frame, and go on to the 6th.
So that puts Rick Steelsmith in the lead. He'll be shooting in the 5th now, spare working, leading by 9 pins. A 1987 Bud Light American Bowling Congress Masters champion. High and 3-6.
Rick's suffering a little bit from lack of speed. He says the one thing that his shoulder problem has caused him is he cannot control his speed as well as he used to. When I first saw him come up, he threw the ball very hard, over 20 miles an hour, but had enough power to still make it carry. Now he's much slower, and with that soft speed, he can't control the pocket quite as well.
All right, a spare for Rick. We talked to him about his shoulder injury and rehabilitation. He tells us about it now.
I injured the shoulder in April of '88, and I had arthroscopic surgery done in February of '89. And from there, I had some strengthening and stretching exercises that I do every day to keep it in shape. And it feels pretty good so far right now, and I'm ready to go.
He started back with a 12-pound ball, worked up to a 13, 14, and he's only using a 15 now, not the maximum 16.
Oh. That was a gorgeous-looking strike. So now Tony Marrese is back up. Now here you will see on your screen the clock running.
Marrese has 25 seconds in which to throw the ball after his opponent, being Rick Steelsmith, leaves the approach.
Didn't trip the 4.
What Tony has to watch here is under pressure, his arm swing bounces out at the top. He lets it get a little bit away from his body, and he pulls the ball high. Now, he crossed his target area right around the 2nd arrow, but he has to realize he pulled it across his body. He has to keep that swing inside out, so there's no problem there. He's avoided the split and can stay very close in the game.
It was interesting to hear Tony's answer to how he qualified for the finals this week.
Well, I'm not an exempt player out on tour this year, so I have to qualify through the rabbit squads. And I actually missed the cut on Monday, and I was second alternate to get into the tournament. 2 guys withdrew from the tournament, therefore it enabled me to bowl, and I was fortunate enough to get here today, and my goal is to win.
Well, he's on the rabbit squad, and that means he has to qualify on Monday to get in the main field of 160, and sometimes there's as many as 200 rabbits trying to get in the field. Very tough.
Tony now with more problems, leaving the 1-3-7.
The 1-2-7, a very difficult spare, and for Tony Marrese, so he can stay close in this match, he must get his ball over in the 1-3 zone, drive the head pin into the 7 pin. He'll trail by just 10 if he can convert the spare.
No luck at all for Tony Marrese on that last shot. That coming in the 7th frame. He trails by 21 now. We'll be back. Wide World next. 8th frame shot by Tony Marrese, who's had 2 opens, thus trailing in the field. And while we were away, his opponent, Rick Steelsmith, struck in the 7th and 8th frames.
Marrese kind of backed up to the wall right now. If he does not strike here in the 9th frame, it's almost impossible to win this match. He has a potential 2-0-2 if he strikes out. Steelsmith, if he just marks, would be a little bit higher than that. But to keep any pressure on Steelsmith, Tony Marrese must strike 9th frame.
Pretty foundation strike. Nice for Tony Marrese. We mentioned that his opponent, Steelsmith, had won the 87 Masters. He finished 5th in it and 8th in 1988. Here our scores final, 70-63, Michigan State. Wow, beating Illinois. Another final, 74-58. And Arkansas continues its winning ways over SMU, 77-46.
Steelsmith can lock up the match with a strike and a ninth. Or open the door with a 2-8-10 split.
An unwelcome door opening for this 25-year-old from Wichita, Kansas, born in Topeka.
He's quickly looking at the scoreboard. Should he take a chance at trying to make this by throwing very hard at the 2-8 and bouncing one of the pins out and taking out the 10, or make sure that he gets the 2-8? I think Steelsmith is in a position where he'll take a chance. He'll go extra speed and try to make it. Needs a lot of bounce.
Oh, the ever-changing mental attitude and conditions and things that happen to bowlers makes it so interesting.
Well, Steelsmith has definitely opened the door for Tony Marrese. Marrese looking at the scoreboard, he knows he now has a chance if Steelsmith does not strike here in the 10th and 11th frames. Steelsmith going at a 198 pace coming up in the 10th. Marrese still a potential 202. As you see Steelsmith on the left side of the approach, he'll throw the ball around the second arrow.
The winner, when it's determined, will meet Rich Wolfe.
The action of the 6-pin in the right-hand part of your screen. It lays down the channel. Boom, pops out, gives a little love tap to the 10-pin. These are 3-pound, 8-ounce pins. Just shows you how much power Steelsmith's getting on that ball. And yet it's only a 15-pound ball. Now with a strike here, he would close out Marrese.
There's the shot. There's the clincher. Moving up another step toward the $31,000 first prize here in the Budweiser Classic. First of 2 Budweiser events this year. Second being in North Olmsted, Ohio, later on our tour.
Just stay behind the line. There's a winner right there.
ABC Sports presentation of Professional Bowlers Tour will be back after this message and a word from our local ABC stations. So with a 208, 7 strikes, and Tony Marrese shot a 202, it's Rick Steelsmith that now will go against another non-winner, Richie Wolfe, 22 years old from Falls Church, Virginia. The Don Carter All-Star Lanes for the Budweiser Classic. The 2 professionals continue to practice here as we await the start of our second game.
Last week after the New Orleans tournament, many of the players and many of the celebrities all headed north to St. Louis for a very special night. Let's take a look at what happened that evening. Last Sunday evening, a black tie fundraising dinner to benefit the National Bowling Hall of Fame and Museum took place in St. Louis. A number of celebrities were in attendance, among them Dick Weber, figure skater JoJo Starbuck, Eddie Elias. The dinner recognized the contribution to the bowling industry of 2 men. The first, Michael Rorty of Anheuser-Busch, a longtime supporter of America's #1 participation sport.
You don't have to be 6'9" or run the 40-yard dash in 4.4, throw a baseball 100 miles an hour to experience the thrill of competition, being a part of a team, simply having a good time. After all, leaving an open 10th frame is something everyone should experience at least once in their lives. Unfortunately, too often in mine.
And Chris Schenkel, the voice of the Professional Bowlers Tour since its inception in 1962. Chris was introduced by ABC Sports President Dennis Swanson. He spoke warmly of how his association with the bowling community affected his life.
I'll continue to be involved with the Home of Bowling, continue to ask that everyone make the Hall of Fame their #2 favorite charity. It's all right if you pick your own #1. And this promise, as long as I'm able, I'll be there when You need me. That love is not love until it's given away. Thank you for giving us yours. Thanks again.
A very lovely evening for Mr. and Mrs. Rorty and Mr. and Mrs. Schenkel.
Oh, that was a great night, Bo. Thank you. And I was flattered to be in the presence of Michael Rorty, one of my longtime friends, and what a giant in his field. And to have you there and Palmer and President Dennis Swanson and all our vice presidents, Lewin, Apter, along with Downs, wow. And the bowlers. Here's a good one, the young one. Powerful ball, but he left that single pin on the left lane, the 7. Richie Wolfe, Falls Church, Virginia.
Rich Wolfe, the real power player in the field, especially on the left side, as you saw Tony Marrese with a normal type roll, and the other left-hander in the field, Scott Devers, almost throws a straight ball. So this is the only power player on the left side.
1 of 3 in our field today. Nice disposition. He obviously is very loose. Not as much tension as we've seen in the pros that come on our telecast for the first time. Here's the winner of the first game, 208 to 202.
Come on, Rick, come on!
That old philosophy, Bo, that we both have of boosting the youngsters and patting the veterans on the back. Well, we have youngsters here today. And in the audience, talk about veterans. Carmen Salvino, over 700 PBA tournaments, can you imagine? Johnny King, who won the first PBA event in Miami, which we televised in '64, beating Glenn Allison. So we're getting a cross-section of young and old here in Sunrise, Florida.
The total prize fund of Johnny King's first tournament was only $26,000 as opposed to $31,000 for first this week.
Isn't that amazing?
Steelsmith, if he has one of 2 problems that I can see right now, is number 1, we talked about his speed control, and number 2, with the lighter bowling ball, sometimes he loops it a little bit too far behind his back. So he has to get the ball over here as you get the overhead look, get the ball between the 3 and 6 pins, and carry out the back row. We'll see if he can do it just like that. He's already done it once. He converted this in the first match. Trouble, but that's the chance you have to take with a sleeper back pin. You have to send it wide and hope to get enough angle to carry out the back pin and hopefully not chop off the 3 and the 9 and leave the 6-10. He's opened the door for Wolfe.
Thanks for that tip, Bo. Now the lefty. Last year he was 6th 3 times, so he's been getting closer and closer.
He just needs a little self-confidence, Chris. As you see him from the back, watch this good knee bend, watch the wrist action. Now look at his arm swing touch, tucked inside out. Now watch the angle of the ball. Leaves the 6-pin, easy spare.
Has his followers here. In fact, a field of 5 each has. But our tournament leader, Brian Voss, will have the biggest cheering section because bowls out of Boca Raton, Florida, getting married there tomorrow.
Boca only about 20 miles from here. Steelsmith is probably one of the only true team bowlers that we have out here on the Pro Bowlers Tour, except for fellows like Carmen Salvino. Players in my age group didn't bowl much team bowling. We came right out of college and went in the pros. That Rick is part of the Team USA.
And experienced all the Olympic training facilities and appreciated it. Well, our Budweiser points today are doubled. A victory is worth 125 today, 250. Up to now in our 6th week, and Letta Moncelli, by virtue of his appearing in 4 telecasts, 290 points. But it's close with Bone, Houston, Janello, and Warren.
By the way, Moncelli did not qualify for the top 24. He got a check, finished in the middle of the pack, and he's going to take the next 2 weeks off. So we'll see some new faces up there. 8 seconds left.
Oh, and I think we should explain it again, the 25-second rule. We'll do it when we come back, because we're going to take a pause here in our second game of the Budweiser Classic. Next week, but today we're looking at Richie Wolfe. Running a little bit behind our time schedule, so we have to occasionally bowl through, as we did here. Richie Wolfe, spare in the fourth, now shooting in the fifth frame, and he's got a sleeper here, Bo. Look out. No problem.
Good shot. Rich Wolfe, if he improved any one thing in his game, it has been his spare shooting. We all knew he could throw strikes. We saw him come out last year, and Johnny Petraglia actually gave him the confidence to come back out on a steady rate. He says, you just don't know how good you are, and you need a little experience, and then you'll be right out there tough as ever. And next week, Brian Voss, our tournament leader, will defend his title in Merritt Island, Florida.
Last year, back-to-back by winning at Don Carter in Louisiana, and then the Bowler's Journal. So, Rick Steelsmith.
Rick, when he watches this championship round performance today, if he'll just critique himself a little bit and watch his arm swing. When he drops it way behind his back, he sends it wide or high. Now he's over here where he needs to get the 2-4, or at least the 2-pin, into the 10 to convert this split. Not too tough, but he has to check his arm swing.
So for Rick Steelsmith, it's his second open in this, his second game, having won the first over Tony Marrese, 208, 202. He's trailing by 16 pins. Rick's mom, Carol, has come in to cheer him on. Parents are so supportive. Get these youngsters on the tour. Well, now with a 2-8.
Sends the ball wide, both frames, both in the fifth frame and the sixth frame. And what he has to do is get the ball from the overhead, you can see, just get the ball right in the zone and let the ball carry out the 8-pin. That's the way you need to do it.
Okay.
Should be easy for Steelsmith. He will trail by 16 with a conversion.
I always remember what Frank Esposito told me when I first met him, that said, Chris, do you realize if you bowl all strikes or spares, you'll shoot 190? Not bad, right?
Well, that's if you get at least 9 pins in the first ball every time, as you see the overhead and the angle of Rich Wolfe.
All right. We asked Rich, what do you expect out of yourself today?
Last year I finished sixth 3 times in a row. It was a difficult time. I'm just happy to be here. This is a no-lose situation for me. It's a great field. I'm looking forward to bowling everybody, but I'd like to get there to bowl Mr. Voss. He's an idol of mine. I think he's the best thing that's happened to bowling in a long time, and I'm just glad to be here.
He still has a task at hand with Rick Steelsmith as he leads by 16, can extend to 26. 7th frame. What a great break.
Love it. Love it. Isn't that often we see it?
Watch this pin action. Pin kind of just comes out of the pit. The mystery pin, the 11th pin, takes out the 7th pin.
All right. It's Rick Steelsmith with a 26-pin lead over Richie Wolfe here in Sunrise. Repeat.
I don't even hear anything.
All right, we're looking at Rick Steelsmith. While we were away, because we're running behind our time schedule, a spare in the 7th for him, a strike in the 8th. Now shooting in the 8th, Richie Wolfe. Well, he got the 4-pin on a roll.
That's the first real wild shot that Rich has thrown so far in the match, and if he converts the spare, he will have a 26-pin lead. And he said this is the spare he worked the most on. He feels he improved his game. He's going with a little harder ball, a little lower surface friction, and he has cut his hook way down. Let's see how it works for him. That's the right technique. All you need is some accuracy. Hit it right in the face. Now for Rich Wolfe, as he comes up in the foundation 9th frame, he's had a mark in every frame. He's going at a 206 pace. If he strikes spares the rest of the way, Steelsmith, if he strikes out, can get 210. So the match is still up for grabs as you see Steelsmith working over the rosin bag. He knows he needs some strikes.
Smith, who's up now, that defeated Tony Marrese 208-202. And now with a strike up in the 8th, it's trailing by 26. Big 9th frame shot.
Absolutely must strike here. If he gets up and strikes here in the 9th, he still has a chance. Trouble.
Yes. 3-6-10 on the right lane.
I've watched Steelsmith bowl so much in the last year and a half, even when he had his shoulder sore, Chris, and he needs to get his ball speed back. He is a great player with the slow speed he's using today, about 16 or 17 miles an hour, but he's even better when he has his speed control, and that's been his problem so far today. He's in trouble.
No trouble there with the 3-6-10 a spare in the 9th, but it's getting extremely late. Remember that Wolfe struck in the 9th frame, so he'll be up next. Up next following us, Wide World of Sports, an international event, and they'll also be saluting the new heavyweight champion of the world, Buster Douglas.
Had a chance to watch that fight. Very interesting. Now, Rick Steelsmith thinks he can get by with a 15-pound ball. If he'll watch that hit on when he watches his performance at home tonight or tomorrow, he'll realize that the 16-pound will service him even a little better. Now, you can see the angle he's playing about the 3rd arrow. Starts it over the center, over the 3rd arrow. Now, watch the action of the 5-pin. Does not get over to the 7. With all his power, he should just drive that 5 over. You need the full-weight ball to beat the pros.
Well, we've had 5 PBA Tour telecasts, 5 winners, 5 different winners. So that's going to happen today as well. The clock is running.
He just has 25 seconds from the time his ball comes back to release him, and he was well within that time frame.
Well, for Rick Steelsmith, not enough. Perhaps 179, 5 strikes compared to his 208 victory in the first game. Now both Brian Voss and Scott Devers loosening up, warming up off to our right. So we have a winner. We'll, of course, bring you the final score when this second match is completed, but it'll be Richie Wolfe going against 3-time winner Scott Devers.
Today's bowling tip of the week is for the left-handed player. And to help me is bowling star Johnny Petraglia. John, we've always taught that the adjustment for your strike line is if you miss right, move right. If you miss left, move left. And I presume the same is true on the left side of the lane also.
Well, it is, Bo. It is true all the way up till the center of the lane. And once you pass center, you get on the rough boards of the right side of the lane. Now, as illustrated in this shot that I'm going to be throwing here, you'll notice that as the ball gets to the right side of the lane, it gets an extreme amount of hook and actually misses the head pin going away.
The adjustment John has to make in order to keep the ball in the pocket is to keep his feet in the exact same spot and extend his eyes farther down the lane. Now, in the first shot, he was looking at the red tape, and the ball went high. Now, with extending his eyes farther down the lane, looking at the green tape, hopefully he'll keep the ball in the 1-2 pocket. Let's try a shot, John.
Okay, Bo.
Perfect. Well, here's the essence of the tip. When you start getting on the right side of the lane, you don't need to move any farther right. Change the position of your eyes on the lane, moving them farther down the lane. Is that correct, John?
That's correct, Bo. Left-handers, stay on your own side.
Professionals striving to get to the top against Voss. Steelsmith won the first, lost the second, 206 to 179. Richie Wolfe with 6 strikes. The next combatants, Scott Devers and Richie Wolfe, continue to practice, and it gives us an opportunity to go to Bo with some info.
Chris, a field of 160 bowlers as you see the upcoming stops. Next week it's just up the coast of Florida and then up to Fairlanes in the Baltimore area for the Fairlanes Open. And we did have a average field, that's normal size, 160, 209 average game. That's very high. Look at almost 220 to make the top 24. Here's some of the other finishers. Edwards and Bornhop, pretty good checks. Firestone winner there, Parker Bone, he won last week in New Orleans, finishing ninth. Lawrence, watch him, he's steadied every week. Del Ballard. Wayne Fisher, Bob Benoit. Benoit steady. Brad Snell got a good finish on his game. Remember Thayer the first week? Wilson up there. Hoskins, the Rookie of the Year, local favorite. Steve Cook. Wiseman's made it 2 weeks in a row. Shady and Ozio. Shady, a new name in the top 24. Curtis Odom, Storm DeVincent, 2 weeks in a row, another local. And Eugene McCune, as you see the beautiful Budweiser trophy that one of these two men, or possibly Brian Voss, will win.
Okay, here they are. Into the semifinal game, that pivotal match. Richie Wolfe in the red shirt. 5 tournaments this year, 5 cashes. Looked strong at times in the first match, but Scott Devers has a little bit more experience. 3 victories, last win in the 1988 Columbia Open in Austin, Texas. But Richie will shoot first on the left lane.
Chris, so far this year, the bowler who has started the match has only won 25% of the time. Let's see if that happens to Rich Wolfe.
Well, he averted that split anyway, leading the 6-10.
And I can't say any particular reason why somebody who would start the match would only win 1 out of 4 matches. So it's something to kind of follow, and let's see if the trend continues throughout the year. But Rich Wolfe is going against the odds.
Well, Rich Wolfe has hit his best plateau. First time on TV, he is 1-0. He won his only game thus far. Now, here's 28-year-old Scott Devers of Richmond, Indiana. Career earnings of $210,000. Oh, 2 lefties going head-to-head. It'll be a righty the winner will meet, though, and that's our tournament leader, Brian Voss.
Devers, watch this arm swing. He takes it out, then re-gets it, tucks it in. So he ends up with a very good arm swing at the release point. That inside out doesn't play much hook. Depends on accuracy to stay up with the power players. Perfect shot. Scott Devers started bowling at the age of 3. His father took him bowling, joined the juniors at 12. Bowled his first 300 at age 15.
Awesome beginning for the veteran Scott Devers. Now with a spare up, the last game winner, Richie Wolfe.
Richie started bowling at the age of 6. All these players on the tour we see have an early start. His first average was 95. As you see the overhead shot, you can see the whole angle he's playing.
Well, we have the 2, 4, 7, 8 on the right lane for the left-hander.
It's almost the same thing the right-handers have, the 3, 6, 9, 10. We saw Rick Steelsmith convert it once and then miss it. And here's what Rich has to do. Get the ball over there in that 2-4 zone and hopefully take out the 8 and carry the 7. Tough spare.
All right. We're in Broward County, South Florida, where they have 3,000 hours of sunshine every year, Bo.
Well, I got about an hour of it yesterday, and I'm a little bit red. Richie Wolfe is sponsored by some fellows who own a pro shop in his hometown area of Falls Church, which is only 25 minutes from the capital of the United States. Sponsor is basically somebody who puts up the money, hopefully to get a return on his investment for our player to come out here on tour.
At this time on the 6th.
Richie bowled his first 300 game also at the age of 15. He's joined a men's league. His first game was 190. His second game, 299. His third game in league, 300. Pretty good start. I'm sure they hate to lose him off their team. Just 22 years of age.
A strong 22-year-old. Scott Devers, 28. Won his first PBA title in Tucson in '87.
See the line of Devers much more to the left than the big hook ball being played by Wolfe. Contrasting styles.
I made a comment to Scott that he threw a relatively straight ball. Why did you do so well this week with it?
Well, I think it's spare shooting. Out of the 42 games this week, I only missed 3 spares, and all the power players, I think, have a tendency to miss spares now and then, and I feel that's where I have the advantage over them.
When you only have 3 open spare frames, Chris, you almost must end up in the top 5. That's just great bowling. Right now he has a commanding lead of 25 pins through 3, can extend to 35 pins, 4th frame.
All right. 4 in a row for the Hoosiers, taking a 33-pin lead in our semifinal game. That's right, exciting NCAA college basketball tomorrow right here on ABC. 4th and 5th frames for Richie Wolfe were very, very good. 2 strikes, cutting the lead to 25. But he brings it right back to the strike, and there, my friends, is number 5 in a row. Scott Devers.
5 in a row, and Scott Devers leads by 35, and so far this year, through 20 matches, the bowler who has led in the 5th frame has won 65% of the matches. So let's see if that pro forma fits the final result of Scott Devers' game.
Here's a man with 3 victories, Bo, but still has to qualify. You talked about a rabbit squad earlier.
He did not get enough points. You can accumulate points every week on the tour, and if you don't get enough, even if you've won some titles, you still must go back and re-qualify. Very tough for him.
Oh, just when we were about to say an opportunity for $100,000 and a Chevrolet Corvette, True Value, and AC Delco, we get this.
7-9 split. The players call it the DOA out here on the Pro Bowlers Tour. As you see, must bounce the 7 into the 9 into the 7, and DOA is really a name of Billy Idol's song, Dead on Arrival, and that was his ball on that particular shot.
So costly open frame now for Scott Devers. And with a double up, here is Richie Wolfe. Can cut Devers' lead to 11. Sort of convincing fashion. You know, following us, as has been the case from day one, it's ABC's Wide World of Sports. 2 international competitions. Figure skating first pro competition in the Soviet Union, and Mo, I know you love gymnastics. You'll see 3 terrific Soviet stars in that competition. Also a salute to...
Well, we salute to Buster Douglas, and that was just a wonderful match. I had the chance of watching it while we were in New Orleans after the telecast last week, and he just kept pecking away, and finally beat the supposedly unbeatable Mike Tyson.
Stringing 4 of his own is Richie Wolfe, who now, he trails by only 1 pin. Don't go away. tee on ABC next week. Join us. And the bowling fans have certainly joined us here at one of the great bowling facilities anywhere. Don Carter Classic Lanes in Sunrise, Florida. And this is the Budweiser Classic. And this is a man that leads by 1, shooting in the 7th frame. He opened in the 6th. The bowling writer in Richmond, Indiana, Chuck Kenzel, is a big rooter of this left-hander.
And the normally unflappable Scott Devers has to like that. Gets the wall shot, recovers from that 7-9 pocket split in the 6th frame, and maintains his 1-pin lead.
Careful preparation. A delightful double to take the lead by 11.
What a way to come back there in the 8th frame after he hung up in the thumb hole, lofted the ball too far down the lane, got the split in the 6th. He makes a very aggressive shot in the 8th, regains the lead, and has put the pressure right back on Richie Wolfe. 8th frame.
Five in a row for Richie Wolfe, who eliminated Rick Steelsmith in the previous game, 206 to 179. Steelsmith had defeated Tony Marrese in our first game, 208 to 202. And the winner of this game will meet Brian Voss. Or as his T-shirts say, Voss is boss.
Anybody's match, 2 frames left. 1-pin difference.
Six-bagger. Remember, this is his first time under the lights, under the pressure of network television.
You gotta like it. You saw that good high follow-through, good wrist action, good concentration. That's an awful lot of discipline for a man in his first appearance. Now, a 3-time champion needs this strike to retake the lead. He trails by 9.
Leaving a 6-10.
Scott Devers, under the pressure, a little anxious, raises up just before he releases the ball, pulls it across his body, avoids the 6-8-10 split, and has a relatively easy spare to make the 6 and 10 pins, but he's in trouble in the match. He will trail by 11 going into the 10th frame.
Deep breath time for both competitors. Brian Voss continues to warm up off to our right. He will meet the winner, 31,000 to the victor. Today, 16,000 for second. 8,500, 7 and 6. That's the way it's split up in this total purse of 160,000.
Devers trails by 11. Needs to get a strike here in the 10th frame to cut the lead down to 1. Gets the first one. One more, he would have a 240 game. He would force Richie Wolfe to at least strike to win the match. Devers has not lost to any of the 4 opponents in the championship round during the week. He defeated Voss, he defeated Wolfe, he defeated the other 2 opponents, and he can get by with another victory if he can strike here. Playing right down the center of the lane, he'll drift slightly to his left, roll the ball around the second arrow very straight, depends on accuracy. See a little bit of loft on the ball from the low camera. Ball breaking into the 1-2 pocket. Now watch the action on the left-hand part of the screen. The 4-pin does its job. It keeps Devers right in the match, a possible 244. We have a possibility of a tie in this match, a winner by either player. It's up to the last shot.
Looking away. There's our biggest game of the afternoon. A whopping 244, 10 strikes for Scott Devers.
The situation for Richard Wolfe is simply this. If he strikes on this ball, he wins in regulation time. If he gets 9 spare strike, we have a tie. If he gets anything less, he loses.
6 in a row.
That's a loser. He is not going to win the match. He's going to shoot 243 best. Scott Devers is going to finish with 244. It's going to be Devers against Voss.
Wow, what a tough break for Richie Wolfe. There is your winner, Scott Devers. ABC Sports presenting Professional Bowlers Tour will back up this message and a word from our local stations. Well, Frank, thank you very much. We've had a lot of fun since joining the New York Giants together in 1952. Thank you, Jeff. Okay, we're now into the final game. Pressure. Brian Voss, the tournament leader, has been only practicing and watching. Scott Devers defeated Wolfe by 1 pin. Look at that, 244 to 243.
Close game, obviously, 1 pin, and there's some of the stars there. Don Carter, 6-time Player of the Year, and Mark Lampling, who is representing the Budweiser Brewery as the sports marketing director, who will hopefully present the trophy to, obviously, one of these two men. Now it's Voss first up on the approach. The tournament leader has won 4 out of 5 times this year. Let's see if that profile holds true for Brian. First shot.
Not bad for a man who is less than 24 hours away from marriage. Brian Voss. And, of course, there's so many family members, Voss and Goff family members. Oh, golly, I tell you, Voss is boss. Well, Scott Devers was boss in the last match, 244, 243. All even after 1 frame. So it should be in a title match. Bowling for 47,000, 30 and 16.
It's all plus for Devers right now as he's stuck by Richard Wolfe in that semifinal. He defeated Voss 257, 217 in match play, as he defeated the other 3 opponents who have gone by the wayside so far today. And I would have to still say Devers is the slight underdog. Had a great year in 1988, winning 94,000 on the tour. Hopes to regain that form.
Oh, no. A 410 for Scott Devers.
Trouble.
Big.
410 split. What he has to do is get that ball over to the left-hand part of the 4-pin and try to slide it into the 10. It's a little bit easier shot for a left-hander because he's coming towards the pins. Now here's how he got it. Ball cutting right through the middle. The 410. Let's see how Devers handles it. Second frame championship match.
Oh. All out against the bridegroom.
Look at how close he comes to converting this split. The ball just slides by the 4-pin. All he had to do is nick it. He'd driven into the 10 and put some pressure on Voss, who would like to get out to a big early lead with a quick double.
So the 8-time champion was up at the line directing pen traffic to no avail, leaving the 1-2 on the right lane.
Well, he's asking it to keep coming. He knows he threw it wide, and when you throw a shot like that, you just must forget it. Voss is way too good to have that even play on his mind. He's a great player.
Brian Voss, second television appearance this year. He's 5th at Pinole in the ARC Open, and overall his 34th television appearance. Player of the Year in '88, set a money record broken last year by Mike Albee.
That's how Voss got to the top 5. 18 games of qualifying. That's rounds 1, 2, and 3. Just snuck in the top 24. Then he climbed through the 24 match games into the #1 position, and he now has a 14-pin lead through 2 frames.
What a jump for either of these competitors in the Budweiser Kingpin standings, because the usual 125 points for victory doubled today to 250.
Statement by Scott Devers: I bowl the pins, not the opponent. It's a pretty good strategy, so he's not worried about what Voss is doing. He's just worrying about his own game.
At the 88 true value, which Brian won, Scott was third seeded and lost to Brian. That was in Peoria, Landmark Lanes, where we'll be in a few weeks.
Brian, in that Pinole Valley loss to Monticelli in the early rounds, bowled a 265 to Monticelli's 277. So if Brian's got one coming, he could use it today. That was a tough loss.
For the left-hander now, we have a 1-2 on the left lane.
Scott Devers has to be very careful with his tempo, and by that I mean his feet. If he gets a little quick to the foul line, his swing does not realign with his target. You saw from that low camera angle given to us by Director Larry Cam that his swing was out of line and didn't quite come through towards the target. He pulled it high and luckily got away with an easy spare, the 2-4.
We're in our title match in the Budweiser Classic in Sunrise, Florida. 14-pin lead by tournament leader Brian Voss. Back again, and well, it's all right to have a pacifier, isn't it? One of the Voss's boss family members, because their relative, their friend, Brian Voss, will be married tomorrow at Boca Raton.
Voss up in the 4th frame, has a 14-pin lead, strike working, can extend to 24.
Winner of the 1988 PBA National Championship. He may have family members here and special friends, but he's liked everywhere he goes.
He's got to like this. He made a bad shot in the 2nd frame here, then rips the rack in the 4th to take a 24-pin lead. And I traveled with Brian Voss through the state of Florida for about 19 days, about 3 years ago, Chris, and I just marveled at how well he can handle all lane conditions. As you see him playing the deep inside line here.
Again, directing traffic, but he couldn't get the 3 and 10 to go. The 2-time All-Army champion spent 4 years in the Army following high school to get things organized, and he credits the Army with doing a lot for his success today.
Good for his experiences. He needs to get the ball over here by the 3-pin, let the ball deflect into the 10. A must type of split for top pros.
A tough one. So now only 10 pins separating the two. There's a final score. Georgetown over Seton Hall, 68-60.
The door is open for Scott Devers. If Voss had struck in the 5th frame, Devers would be 34 pins behind. Now he stands up there only 10 pins behind with 2 strikes. He can even the match.
And it's a 7-pin for Scott Devers, who defeated Richie Wolfe by 1 pin, 244 to 243.
Devers, who knows that the strongest part of his game is spare making, can't let this 7-pin get away from him. Devers, who had almost $95,000 in winning in 1988, dropped to 55, which is not a bad year in '89, but mostly because he had a pulled groin muscle. He pulled some muscles when he was unloading some heavy objects from a truck, and it hampered him most of the winter time. He recovered some in the summer, had a pretty good fall, and now he looks like he's back in top form as he only trails by 11 pins in the championship match. Voss just contemplating what's in front of him. Don't worry about your opponent. 6th frame.
What a break for Scott Devers. He sits down, catches breath, and Brian Voss gets up.
The late, great Billy Wayloose said, hit him thin and watch him spin. And here they did. The ball does the little damage. The head pin spins around, takes out both the 5 and 10 pins, and the match is on. Voss leads by 11, 6th frame.
We asked Brian earlier, with all your family here, do you feel any extra pressure?
Well, it's been kind of a thrill all week long, not only for me, for my fiance, but both sides of our family. And, you know, I was kind of the entertainment for everybody this week, and there was some pressure involved, and, you know, it was a great feeling to do well. It's kind of been a storybook story all week long, and I hope the epilogue has a happy ending.
With that break on the 7th pin, Brian Voss doubling and now leading by 21 pins. But remember, Devers now has a strike up shooting in the 7th.
Brian Voss lost his first 6 times when he was a tournament leader. He learned to become more aggressive and actually became a better bowler at the same time. And you saw it there in the 6th and 7th frames as he came back from that split with 2 aggressive shots to put the pressure on Devers.
Sort of disbelief.
Well, as my good friend back in St. Louis, Al Nowicki, says, unconscious competence. Scott Devers threw the ball right in the nose, could have had a 4-6 split or a 7-10, just about ending the match. He ends up with a great break, gets a double, he stays right in the match, and he can cut the lead of Brian Voss's down to just 1 pin with a strike here in the 8th frame.
And of course it is Devers that defeated Richie Wolfe by 1 pin, 244-243 in the semifinal game. Here's the shot. It's a right against a lefty. Brian Voss.
Show you what a great break that strike was that Devers had in the 7th frame. If he splits there, he would be trailing by 35. Instead, he's only trailing by 1 pin, a 34-pin flip-flop on 1 shot, and he's put the pressure back on Voss.
Now after a double, 8th frame. Three in a row, an 11-pin lead.
One reaction of Voss, aggressive shot, just rips the rack. See you later, 5-pin, increases his lead to 11. When he won New Orleans and Merritt Island last year, Chris, I went behind him. I said, why don't you leave these guys alone out here on the tour? They can't beat you when you bowl like that. He just had a little snicker on his face, and I said the same thing to him last night. You just cannot bowl any better than Brian Voss has bowled in this tournament so far. He needs 2 more strikes to win it.
And likes bowling in the Don Carter houses. He won in Louisiana last year. Now he's back here. Said he has tremendous credentials, and his family, friends love it.
The strength, the discipline, and obviously the incentive. I'll tell you what, if Scott Devers can hang in there in this match, I'll give him credit. He has really had the pressure put on him by Brian Voss.
Look at that. Wham, bam. A lefty and a righty in the championship game, 31 to the winner, 16 to the runner-up. There won't be a loser in this match.
That's for sure.
The runner-up.
The scoreboard tells a story. Devers can go 235 with 3 more strikes. Voss still has a possible 246. Anybody can win. 1 frame left for the 1990 Budweiser Classic Championship. The old saying, what goes around comes around. Let's look at Scott Devers' match. He throws a Brooklyn strike to defeat Richard Wolfe in the final shot of his semifinal match. Then he carries a nosedive in the 7th frame to hang in this match. At the most critical time, he leaves a solid 9 and opens the door for Voss. Pin count very important here. If he gets 9 pins or a strike, he'll force Brian Voss to mark in the 10th frame.
Lofted out onto the lanes. And it's a 214 for Scott Devers. Championship match. Now Voss.
Tournament leader has won 4 out of 5 weeks. The only loss was in Quaker State when Peterson defeated Janelle, as you say, the fiancée Andrea Goff, knowing her husband needs just a mark. Her husband to be a little presumptuous, needs a mark to win.
Okay. Brian Voss has won his 9th title. We'll have that final score for you. And listen to his family members. They love the fact that their guy, Voss, is Voss here in the Budweiser Classic. Now we're going back to my friend and Hall of Famer, Frank Gifford in New York. And the wedding march is rightfully played in the background. On the eve of his wedding, 245 to 214. We almost look like we have an altar here right now.
Real quickly, I have so many people to thank. Budweiser, the Don Carter chain. It's nothing the best with the best. And all the staff here and the fans here. Gosh, you guys just made me cry all week long.
Mark Lamping, Budweiser Sports Marketing Director, with a beautiful trophy.
Brian, congratulations. On behalf of Anheuser-Busch and the Budweiser brand, congratulations. A great week under a lot of pressure. You really came through like a true champion. Congratulations.
Speaking of champions, Don Carter with a check. Give that to Andrea.
Listen, Brian, we're very proud to have you as our champion, and you might as well get used to it. Here, Andrea.
Andrea, a comment for you. We got to go. Sorry. 245, 214. Brian Voss, the bridegroom, is the winner.
The Pro Bowlers Tour has been brought to you by Budweiser. Beechwood Age for that clean, crisp taste. Bliss Buds for you. By the United States Postal Service. We deliver for you. And by Sinex Ultra Fine Mist, the nasal spray that goes up and stays up. This has been a presentation of ABC Sports.